Welcome back to another Why Do They Always Do This with Pokemon Go. We have the Tapu Fini coming back in Pokemon Go, which is going to inspire this video. So with all that said, let's jump right in. Welcome back, everybody. Let me know in the comments below. Are you guys excited about Tapu Fini in Pokemon Go? Are you excited about the Tapus in general? What happens when their shinies come out? I'm curious to see how you guys feel about Tapu in Pokemon Go. Very curious about this because it seems like Pokemon Go consistently goes through these cycles of legendaries where it's like there's certain legendaries, do I need to mention them, such as Heatran, such as Regis, such as Forces of Nature, and Deoxys, where they come back with multiple of these Pokemon and it seems to take them a while to either release the shiny, they come back with the shiny, and so forth. And it kind of gets to a point where it's like, what is going on with these Pokemon and why do they do this specific cycle each and every time? I am not 100% sure, but we're gonna go over that today in this video. So I hope you guys are ready to jump into why does Pokemon Go do this? Okay, so first and foremost, they are brand new raid bosses, which is pretty cool, right? So back in the day, let's take, for example, Moltres, Articuno, Zapdos. Those Pokemon would come out for a long period of time, maybe 2 to 3 weeks for each of them. But at the time, raids were all brand new. And all of these Pokemon were pretty much the strongest Pokemon in the game at the time for their specific typings, right? So it made a lot of sense to be able to put out something like a Zapdos, an Articuno, a Moltres. Raiding is exciting and brand new. We have brand new Pokemon that have never been in Pokemon Go. Kanto is nostalgic, and it really timed up for that situation. However, we can even take that into Generation 2 and Generation 3, and those Pokemon were still quite cool, quite impactful. Maybe not so much anymore. Raikou, Entei, Suicune, not so much the best Pokemon in the game anymore. But Groudon and Kyogre and Rayquaza, man, they will still hit a heavy load in the game, especially because they all have either primals or megas, right? So there is future pacing for all of those Pokemon. And maybe now that the Kanto birds do come back, it might not be the most effective thing anymore, but it still might hit nostalgia for those specific Pokemon. And obviously, do we need to mention Mewtwo? Everybody is gonna lose their hat for Mewtwo. And I get it. At the same time, if we look towards these types of Pokemon, they're rarer, right? They're stronger. They make more of an impact in Pokemon Go. So one of the reasons that they could have been doing that is that it was nostalgic at the time and they kind of still go through that cycle. And I do know that Pokemon Company has a lot to say with Pokemon Go and how they are able to and what they're able to not do in the game. So let's just call a spade when we do talk about the entire entity of what Pokemon Go is and not just blame it on the company of the creation. So now that we have covered that, looked back upon things, we now bring it back to the present moment, which I understand, going back to my point that I slightly mentioned right there, is that Mewtwo, Groudon, Kyogre, Giratina Origin Form, other Pokemon such as this that will have future megas, Rayquaza, and other things, obviously, are going to be very impactful Pokemon to the game. So it makes sense that these Pokemon become rare. Zekrom, Reshiram, we have Dialga. Dialga, not so much, doesn't come out anymore, right? Like all these Pokemon that seem to take quite a bit of break, and then we have cycles that go through. We have brand new Tapus get released. For 2-week intervals, which in my opinion is way too long, we could have easily had 3 weeks of all of them at the same time, or even 2 weeks and been perfectly fine for all of us, for all of our appetite for whatever Tapu we would like to feast on, and then move forward. And that's just my opinion. Maybe I am wrong here when I'm talking about this, but if I am not, drop in the comments and let me know what you guys think as far as this situation goes. So the number one situation is that to keep the rarer raid bosses rare and the most effective raid bosses a little bit more rare, so that when they do come back, they're a little bit more hyped in the game as opposed to taking them for granted, being like, oh, Mewtwo's gonna come back next month. Oh, it'll be back in a month or two. Like, no, it's like, when is Mewtwo actually gonna come back right now, right? So it creates more of a desire to raid that Pokemon, which I think for our gameplay sanity, it is better in that regard that we don't have these Pokemon making their debut each and every month or every 2 months, because number one, it would really hurt our wallets, and number two, I think those Pokemon would become less nostalgic and special each and every time they come out. Because, for instance, besides Groudon and Kyogre being a part of GoFest last year, the last time they were out was March, I believe February or March 2021, which has already been over a year since they've had their Pokemon back out, which I would love for them to be out. I would love to see the Primal Groudon and Kyogre to come out as well, and to be able to raid through them in that regard, just like we're doing with Mega Latios and Latias, which I think was an absolute blast and a blessing of a shakeup to have Mega Legendaries into the game, and I think that a lot of us can get on the same page as that. And to be fair, Generation 7 does have a lot of raid bosses to get through, but at the same time, do we really actually need a Tapu for 2-week intervals and then they're gonna come back all again for another week. Like, it's like we're all like waiting to get back at those Pokemon, and I think the reality is that most of us are not waiting to get back at those Pokemon. Similar things do happen, such as the Reggie trio, where it's like they seem to continuously come back over and over. We have Heatran in specific of one of them that comes back a lot, and then we also have the Forces of Nature that have been out for the Therian and the non-Therian form. Granted, some of those Pokemon are quite cool, so I'm not really going to take that into account, but at the same time, Deoxys seems to have done that in the past. Granted, it has been a little bit of time since they have been out, and this time it seemed like they did a pretty good job because the new shinies were out as well. So to be fair, it's also just part of the gameplay experience. Not all legendaries are going to be heavy hitters. I just wish that there was a little bit of ability to kind of scale back on some of the less heavy hitting ones and put a little bit more focus on the Pokemon that do hit heavy and that do impact the game, especially as meta attackers and PvP Pokemon. So if we take a little bit of a step back and we say, what could the game do better to make these legendaries a little bit easier to digest? Number one thing I think is that they could put these Pokemon out for shorter periods of time. That's just an easier thing. Pokemon that are less impactful to the meta attackers and that don't really have a place in the PvP standpoint. I mean, granted, some of the Tapus are in the top 100 of the Master League, but in reality, are you guys using those Pokemon? Probably not. You're probably using something in the top 25 to the top 50, right? So we're not gonna reach into the 50 to 100 or a little bit over that. Number one. Number two, I would say that for some of these legendaries, they could go ahead and just release the shinies right up front, because if there was 2 weeks of a shiny Tapu Bulu, I would be a little bit more inclined to raid these Pokemon a little bit harder, as opposed to kind of skipping them over. So that's number two, which obviously speaking, that would kind of make the shiny a little bit devalued, but at the same time, you know, it's a Tapu, there's 4 of them, they're gonna be released. I get we're trying to like play the game out a little bit of slower pace and just kind of play with the grind and enjoy the grind, but at the same time, something like the Tapus, I feel like are more than welcome to have the shiny released right up front. And then number three, I think another great thing that they could do is if they plan to keep the schedule as is, when they have something like these long periods, granted having the Therian Thundurus, the Therian Landorus, and the Therian Tornadus being released in the shiny forms did help out, but at the same time, integrating a raid weekend would be really effective. Something like, oh, in the middle of this 8-week period, we're gonna have, in the middle of this week, we're gonna have a raid weekend with Palkia, and then we're gonna have a raid weekend with Groudon. Wow, amazing. I think that would like really stoke a lot of us up and not kind of feel like the raids are kind of getting boring, which I think is kind of one of the things that really starts to happen during this period of time. It's like the raids start to get a little bit boring. So those 3 situations, I think if integrated properly, kind of scaled back on the length of these raid bosses that are a little bit less meta effective, and then put in other Pokemon that could excite us, and then make sure to kind of shorten these time frames would be really amazing. I don't know if this could actually happen in Pokemon Go, because like I said, there's a lot of conglomerates that are going on that are really influencing the game altogether. But at the same time, I just want to put this video out, make it known that from the community standpoint, that we would like a little bit of a change in how the raid boss structure goes when Pokemon are not super meta relevant in the game. Let me know if you guys are on board with this, or if you like the structure, and if you are on board, I suggest sharing this video and commenting below, because it will help get the word out from all of our trainers. So thank you guys for being here as always. To all my likers, commenters, subscribers, Patreon members, everybody takes their support, episode to the next level. I'm gonna see you guys out in the next video. Peace.
I want to take this time to thank everybody who supports me in every facet. It means the world to me, and an extra special thank you to all my Patreons. I greatly appreciate the extra support to continue to allow me to pursue Pokemon Go full time, allowing me to create my daily video uploads in the most timely fashion for everyone's benefit. Plus, I get the amazing experience of sharing my creative processes behind the scenes and raiding all around the globe with select upper tiers. Thank you everybody for being a part of the Trainer Club. You all mean the absolute world to me, and I will see you guys out on the next video.